I spent a week on Royal Caribbean's Odyssey of the Seas for a 7-day Eastern Mediterranean cruise. What do I make of the ship as well as the whole cruise experience? Today, I'll be reviewing all the aspects of this cruise. Stay tuned to find out what I like and what I didn't like about it. Coming up next. Hi, this is Ken from Ken Travels 360. As my cruise on Odyssey of the Sea is coming to an end, this is the right time to talk about the best parts as well as the not so great parts of this cruise. Let me just start out by saying that I really enjoyed this cruise overall, of course. This is why we have kept coming back to Royal Caribbean for more cruises, having sailed on them with Anthem of the Seas and Symphony of the Seas. However, as I sail more and more with them, I'm not just looking at things on their own, but now I'm finding myself comparing it with the previous Royal Caribbean cruises that I've been on before. Let's start with the embarkation port at Civitavecchia. The port itself is very modern, check-in was efficient, and the luggage porters were very friendly and got our bags to the cabin very quickly. The town Civitavecchia itself is not big, but it's interesting enough to have a look around. To get to the port, free shuttle buses are provided by the Port Authority, but it's not as frequent as I was expecting. As for getting to Civitavecchia itself, there are direct trains to Rome, but not from Fiumicino Airport. For that, you have to change trains, which involve waiting half an hour at Roma Trastevere station. The alternative is an expensive private transfer. Next, let's talk about an important subject, the food. On our very first cruise with Royal Caribbean on Anthem of the Seas, we found the food absolutely amazing. Then, when we sailed with them last time on Symphony of the Seas, we noticed an obvious deterioration in quality, but overall, it was still just okay. This time, we found the quality quite uneven. The food at Windjammer is arguably better than what we had on Symphony of the Seas Windjammer, maybe because of the provenance of the ingredients. But for the main dining room, we have some rather tough New York strip steak. And it's not just us, our next table neighbor had the same observation too. The head waiter noticed that, and after chatting with us, offered us a filet mignon the next day on the house as a service recovery, and it was excellent. However, given the fact that normally filet mignon costs an extra $99, does it mean that I must pay extra now in order to enjoy great food on Royal Caribbean? Additionally, last time they changed it so that on Royal Night you get one and only one lobster tail free. But this time they have eliminated even that one lobster tail on Royal Night. This is very disappointing. If you have cruised with Royal Caribbean in the last few months, what do you think about all this? Do you agree with my assessment? Leave your comments below to let me know. As for the restaurant on Odyssey of the Seas, there is no longer any Johnny Rockets. Instead, the new fast food restaurant is Playmakers, the sports bar. I like the milkshakes from Johnny Rockets, and I was hoping to use my Crown and Anchor Society Gold status benefit to get 2 milkshakes half price, so it was disappointing to see that venue removed. As for Playmakers, I'm not quite interested in the kind of food they offer, so I just skip it. One thing that is better is now they have replaced the Dog House, which serves the hot dogs, with El Loco Fresh, the new popular dining concept serving Mexican food like burrito and quesadilla. Located right by the pool is a great option for lunch when you don't want to get change to get into Windjammer for the buffet, for example. One thing I do like is that they have decided to unite the 4 individually themed dining rooms back into one big 2-deck main dining room. I felt the small dining rooms on Anthem, they were a bit claustrophobic, so it's great to have the main dining room back. Next, I will talk about drinks. Royal Caribbean has put the drinks prices up again. But luckily, as this is a Mediterranean cruise with 4 port calls, we're able to enjoy lots of delicious cocktails while we're at the ports. We also brought on board a couple of bottles of wines. As a gold member of the Royal Crown and Anchor Society, we're able to get 2 glasses of wine half price during the cruise. So this means we've been able to enjoy alcohol every day without the frankly ridiculously priced drinks package. Royal was charging at least £65 per person per day for the package. That's around £450 or $570 for a 7-day night cruise. That price is simply crazy. And if you pay that much, you'll probably feel obliged to get a drink all the time. For me, that usually means I end up drinking far too much and will feel quite tired throughout the second half of the cruise. Let's talk about the ship facilities. Before getting on the ship, I was really looking forward to this Odyssey of the Seas, as I enjoy Anthem of the Seas, and this ship is Compton Plus class ship, so it has a few more extra facilities. I was then disappointed to find out that they have discontinued both the bungee trampoline at Skypad, as well as the virtual reality Zone Zero. There's also no roller skating here, so that's another minus. Unlike Anthem of the Sea, there is no indoor swimming pool here on this ship, but luckily the weather has been brilliant this cruise, so that didn't really matter. Fortunately, Compton class ships are still great in general, so while it would have been great to have those missing things, it didn't detract too much for my enjoyment. One thing I did notice, which was quite good about this ship, is that even though we had over 100% occupancy, just like on Symphony of the Seas, it never feels oppressively crowded, which I did on some occasions on Symphony of the Seas, such as the rather small Windjammer on port days mornings or the pool area on sea days. Next, we talk about seasickness. For the first 5 days of this cruise, we had the calmest waters I've ever experienced on a cruise. I never felt a single hint of motion. On day 6 of the cruise, when the ship is crossing the Ionian Sea to return from Greece to Italy, it becomes a lot windier and the sea has got a bit rougher. It's not a major issue though, particularly because the ship has really good stabilizers. Next, we'll talk about the stateroom quality. As Odyssey of the Seas is a new ship, everything in the room is in great order. Although it's not a massive room, our midship balcony room is very comfy, and there are lots of charging points and storage space. We're on deck 8, and I wouldn't choose anything lower. The lifeboats are on deck 6, and I can clearly see them just beneath us. This is my first cruise with Royal Caribbean since they reduced the housekeeping service to just once a day. I'm not crazy about that, but our room attendant, Orlando, did a great job cleaning up our room, so I don't really have a big complaint here. Next, we'll talk about the entertainment here. This is our first Royal Caribbean cruise without a Broadway show, and after the amazing Aqua High Diving show, Hero, as well as the 2 stunning ice skating shows on Symphony of the Seas, I did worry that I'll be underwhelmed by the shows on this ship. There are 6 shows on this cruise. There was a Ukrainian acrobat duo performing amazing acrobatics. There was the comedian juggler Francois Bory, and there was also a Beatles tribute show by the Beatles Maniac. And then there was a dancing show called Show Girls. These shows on their own are pretty good, and they got the crowd entertained. But you can tell the production value is a lot lower than all those aqua and ice skating shows that you got on Oasis class ships. The show, The Book, in the 270, being hyped as the unmissable show on the ship, has some great dancing, singing and acrobatics, and it made good use of the Ristorama and the robotic screens. But a technical issue that developed during the show meant they had to interrupt the show and restart. That did disrupt the flow of the show, and we have seen this technical issue happening more and more frequently on Royal Caribbean's cruises. Is this perhaps the result of cost cutting and thereby reducing rehearsal time? Finally, there is their own production show, The Effectors, which did a reasonable job of filling the gap of a Broadway show. It's good, but perhaps not as spectacular as a Broadway show that was designed by the best professionals in the entertainment industry. Perhaps I've been rather spoiled by the really spectacular shows on Symphony of the Seas, but I just expected more from Royal Caribbean. However, credits to the cruise director Mike. He's a very funny guy, and he was really great as one of the macho men in the 70s Disco Inferno. On Symphony of the Seas, the cruise director didn't even show up there. So thanks to his efforts, we still had an enjoyable time on the ship. Next, we'll be talking about the ports of call. This was probably what made the cruise really enjoyable for me. The cruise has an excellent itinerary. The iconic Greek ports of Santorini and Mykonos are so beautiful, picture perfect. The tender process at Santorini, which involves getting the tickets early in the morning, was slightly inconvenient, but we all ended up on the island reasonably quickly. Kushadasi for Ephesus was simply a breathtaking archaeological site. I last visited it in 1995, and this time I was very happy to visit the terrace houses. Naples is a city we have visited a lot recently, and it's always a pleasure to come back there. A review for a Royal Caribbean ship is not complete unless we review all the fun thrills. You have the usual Flowrider, I-5, North Star, and rock climbing, etc. We really enjoy doing North Star at Mykonos. As I mentioned before, I was hoping to try Skypad when I booked this cruise, but that was discontinued 3 months ago. But that is just how it is. Overall, the thrills on Odyssey of the Seas are not quite exciting enough for me. The bumper cars on Odyssey feels a lot slower than what I experienced last year on Anthem of the Seas. We tried the laser tag, which was a welcome addition to the ship, but a few people in my team got 0 points, including myself, because the equipment was malfunctioning. Having done Symphony of the Seas, I now find it difficult to go back to a Quantum class ship. I'm really looking forward to my next cruise, which will be on the new ship, Icons of the Seas. I hope it will be much more fun than this one. If you have been enjoying this video or finding it useful, I'll truly appreciate your support by engaging with this video. Please take a moment to hit the like button, share this video with other cruisers and travelers, and leave a comment to let me know what you think of the ship and your experience on it if you have been on Odysseys before. And finally, don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more travel and cruising content. Let's continue with our review. In terms of pool facilities and sun lounges, I feel overall it's satisfactory here. Mostly, we've been able to find a sun lounger in good spots, so for that it's an improvement over Symphony of the Seas, when very often on sea days it was totally crowded. Next, I'm going to talk about the fitness center. Again, the equipment in the fitness center in Odyssey of the Seas is good, although I think it is slightly smaller than the gym in Symphony on the Seas. On day 2 morning, when everyone still had designs to maintain their fitness routine, it was so crowded. But by day 6, the second sea day, it was a lot less hectic as people were too tired from the excursions. Next, I'm going to talk about the internet. A great thing about this Mediterranean cruise is that I've been able to access internet at some point on each day via 4G. At ports, I was able to roam or use Wi-Fi hotspot at bars, etc. And even on the sea days, the ship passed through places close to the land, such as the Strait of Messina between Italy and Sicily, and my phone was able to pick up the 4G signals, so I could roam for a little bit. There was no need to pay for Royal's expensively priced internet. Let me deliver my overall verdict. I hope this review doesn't sound too negative, because the fact is that I still really enjoy the cruise, but what happened is that Royal has set a really high standard before with my great experiences on Anthem and Symphony. So I really expected more from them, and I want to cruise more with them. But if they keep trying to save money by cutting costs and hence reducing the quality of the food and the entertainment, then I think I will start to look at other options. I'm now planning an Alaska cruise for next year, and I think we may actually try a different cruise line just to see how things are on other lines. Royal has to remember that there are other options out there. There is currently very strong demand for cruising, so maybe they don't quite care. But there will come a point when people will reevaluate their options if they keep lowering their standards. And this concludes my review of this cruise. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Are you still happy with Royal Caribbean? Which other cruise lines do you think I should try? And finally, thank you for watching this video. If you want to find out more about how this cruise went, click here to watch one of these videos now. See you over there. Ciao.